organization you represent. And then we'll introduce our interns and go right to Max. I'm looking forward to the presentation from Max Music Camp this morning. So why don't we start, Michaela, on your end, and we'll just go around, do introductions.
I'm Michaela Hatfield, City Council and Liaison to the Downtown Business Alliance.
Steve Curtis, President of Southwest Metro Chamber of Commerce.
Sydney Seifert, Parks and Rec.
I am Allie Westerholm. I just opened an American Family Agency on 2nd Street. Thank you.
I am Amelia Westerholm. I own Inkheart Tattoo in Chaska.
Dan Keyport, I own the Chaska Depot building. Let's maybe get the back row here too.
Hi, good morning. Melanie Bridgman with Purple County CDA. Krista Mark, City of Chaska Communications.
Jen Angel, the administrator for the CDBA, and I just got new ink at Inkheart.
Oh, wow, there you go.
with my oldest daughter.
Oh,
It was exciting.
It was really fun.
Steve Rich,
Can't-
Vice President on the board and founder of Fitness First Minnesota Incorporated, Chaska and Excelsior locations.
Andy Mooney, owner of Red Bench Bakery on Rouge 41, also Red Bench Bakery and Excelsior location.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stina Kielsmeyer Cook. I work at the University of Minnesota in the Resilient Communities Project, and I'm here with some students who are doing a capstone project with the City of Chaska.
I'm Eric Hansen. I'm one of the students.
Ian Klein, another one of the students.
Elise Durbin, City of Chaska administration staff. Sarah Amundsen, owner of Hayloft Studios.
Mel Carlson, Nicolay Bank, downtown Chaska, and treasurer of the board.
Lisa over at the Chaska Historical Society.
And we have a very small presence on Zoom today, but a very important one. We have Max on Zoom. And Max, before I turn it over to you, I know you all had shared that you might take some pictures today.
Right.
If there's anybody who does not want to be involved in pictures, that is absolutely okay. Just let us know and we will make sure that doesn't happen. Anything else that you all want to share before we get started?
I think originally there was someone else coming with me, so it's just me. I'll just take the pictures on my phone, but I will ask if I'm getting your face in the direct shot. But yeah, please just let me know.
You can share with me too.
I read all sorts of junk. I just need this.
Oh, it's okay.
This
is gonna make that.
All right, Max, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great. Thanks so much. Max Music Camp from Music Camp Group, placemaking and activation consultant for downtown. I will be sharing some of the results, summary, and our initial interpretations of the resident survey that was sent out. Jen, has the memo that I wrote been distributed or?
No, I've kind of held everything for this and then I'll send everything out post this.
Great. Cool. Well, I'll be covering some things that are in a memo that'll be part of the actual report, and we're not going to hold everything until the end. So we can distribute the draft assessment after this meeting, as Jen just said. So we had a tremendous response to the survey. We got about 1,200 responses. Very active on social media. And so I think there's a lot of good insights that come from it. The dominant group of responders were parents. 78% of people had kids. Most people lived in Chaska, the proper 76%. Only 10% of those respondents were in downtown. 2/3, 66%, live in sort of out in Chaska, outside of downtown. And again, all this is written up and will be in a memo. One of the questions we asked was, what do you tell people about downtown Chaska if you were going to explain it? And the way we did read through all the responses for all of each question, but the way that we kind of interpreted it was for this one was to go through and code each response for positive, negative, or a neutral response to gauge sort of the overall vibe of the narrative that's out there. Visitors, I think, are the best ambassadors of downtown. They're the ones that are spreading the message more. Of course, formal marketing is important too, but what people are saying is really the best message and marketing that you could hope for. So having a strong narrative, it creates a virtuous cycle, and if it was negative, would also create the opposite of that. So what we found is that the narrative is mixed. Just under half, about 45% of the responses contained positive. Also, about 45% contained a negative response. And about a quarter contained both a positive and a negative message in there. So it indicates room for improvement, and I think provides a nice general sentiment that could be used as a baseline for the results of future efforts in the future using a similar methodology. Another question we asked was the favorite thing for visitors to do in downtown. And this is a guide of not necessarily what people do the most often, which we asked later, but what do people go out of their way to do like when they do visit Chaska, what are they doing to go out of their way to visit downtown Chaska for? And overwhelmingly, they come for the parks and for food. So the top responses were, visiting parks and public spaces, walking, restaurants, and coffee, with shopping, going to the library, and events with some significant but less frequent responses. Between those last ones got between like 80 and 100 responses. Shout out to Red Bench, which alone got the fourth most responses, among 145 mentions specifically. Fireman's Park got 173 for third most, and Crooked Pint was the other establishment that was specifically mentioned 89 times for the eighth most frequent. So some of the takeaways I got from this response was the outsized impact of a quality restaurant and food establishment can have on downtown, both in terms of visitation, but also just narrative and brand. Food can draw a lot more people than shopping, but the shopping then benefits significantly from the proximity to restaurants that are patronized and can be patronized by a lot of different people. People also want to walk. That was a highlight of something that people mentioned when they go down to, when they want to seek out downtown. So a safe and interesting walking experience is sought after and is a benefit. And the more that downtown can be tied together through interesting and safe walking paths and sidewalks, the better. We'll get to some of the challenges that people also said to this in a different question, but the busyness of traffic and roads is a hindrance to this thing that people also want to be able to do downtown. And then parks and public spaces are a key driver for how families are spending their time. The one challenge, which will also be reinforced in later questions, is that the main public space attractor, Fireman's Park, as we've kind of all heard and experienced, doesn't always create as much overflow effect for the rest of downtown businesses because of it's cut off a bit by a very busy road, Chaska Boulevard, to the rest of downtown. And it has a presence of an on-site restaurant, which is obviously another great amenity, but again, limits sort of the overflow benefits of the attraction that park has. Next is why people go downtown generally. So we asked, what of a variety of different uses, which of these do you go downtown for this use more than 3 times a week, a few times a month, a few times a year, or really never at all? The most frequent reason for people to visit downtown more than 3 times a week was for a job and employment, about 10% of responders, followed by shopping for daily needs at about 4%. Eating in restaurants was only 2% for going more than 3 times a week, but was the largest contingent had the largest response for people going down a few times a month. So about 30% of responders go downtown a few times a month for restaurants. About half of respondents, in addition to that, come down to downtown a few times a year to go to restaurants as well. Some other uses that 20% of responders said they go downtown for a few times a month include another contingent for jobs, shopping for daily needs, and socializing. Also of note, 50% of responders said that the events and socializing with friends drew them downtown a few times a year. So some of the takeaways there is while daily employment and shopping necessities may draw a contingent of people frequently downtown, there's likely some limited overflow effect because a lot of these people are probably just patronizing lunch businesses, which is beneficial, but they're likely not patronizing the shops and other sort of discretionary retail. And that people do want to go downtown for food, fun, and friends. And they're already doing it on a somewhat limited basis. And just, I think, says that people are already coming downtown. If there was more of those opportunities for food, socializing, enjoyment, that they are interested and willing and already doing it, and they would like to do it more. Next question is, what would you like more of, or more happening in downtown? And far and away, the strongest response was higher quality food and beverage options, followed by an ambiance provided by additional unique shopping offerings. I think there was like over almost 400 responses around higher quality food offerings, and then another 200 or so around kind of a blend of it's local shops, but the messages were often around the experience and the ambiance of the environment that local shops create, and the desire for walking around and experiencing local shops. There was also, of course, some comments around grocery and things like that, but the the stronger sentiment was, I like the environment when there's local shops there, rather than I necessarily need more clothing shops or more home goods shops or pet goods or any specific need. It was like, I like the feeling of more local shops being in downtown. And then the fourth was the fourth most popular request was incorporating walking, usually in concert with another desire, which again underscores the importance of the experience of and the safety of getting around downtown safely. And then fifth most popular was the importance of having things to do with family and kids. So some of the takeaways from this is, I think the outreach and recruitment of desire of restaurants that fit this category would be a high priority, and have a big impact and to meet those needs, and also support other adjacent benefits to other non-restaurant businesses. Working to fill empty storefronts with certainly businesses, but also temporary uses to just create a better experience and energy in downtown. And then creating more spaces and places for socializing and intergenerational enjoyment within existing public spaces or businesses that are interested in doing that. The next question was obstacles to a positive experience to visit downtown. So the question here is, does anything get in the way of visiting or having a positive experience when visiting downtown Chaska? The top responses that people gave to this question were parking at 230, for
Nice video yesterday.
traffic, lack was just another word that came up a lot, so sort of not enough to do. 41 was another common theme or that was mentioned, walk, and enough. So some of the takeaways that I took from this is that this is kind of inserting my own experience in other places, that parking is never the actual problem. It's a journey problem. It's a journey issue. People are happy and willing to find a parking space and walk for something if there's a strong enough draw for them and if the experience is positive. There may be some challenges here with awareness around some of the new lots that are available, but if what they want to do is good enough, they're going to be willing to park and walk somewhere. And they've already mentioned that walking is a real amenity and something they want to do downtown. So Trying to add more parking isn't necessarily the answer. It's creating a better awareness around the existing facilities and providing a better walking experience to go to and from wherever the parking facilities are, and existing businesses. Two, I think more important is the noxious effect of traffic, and busy traffic. And it was not gridlock that people were complaining about, but the noise and pedestrian safety issues that arise from being so close to the fast moving traffic. And again, not enough things to do just generally, was a comment. So just providing more reasons for people to come downtown, both through businesses and through, programming, events, activities. And that is the conclusion of our survey summary, and I would be more than happy to take questions about any of that.
You mentioned filling more storefronts, and then you made a comment about also for temporary use.
Yeah.
Can you say more about that?
Sure. Yeah, there's a variety of ways to, a vacant storefront sends a message. It's not as pleasant to walk along, and it doesn't obviously offer up anything for anyone to do. And no one wants to be around a vacant storefront. So there's a lot of different ways to bring some more life to an empty space. Sort of the simplest and most static would be, filling a window with some visual interest, whether it be, art or a decor or something like that. There's also lots of examples of filling empty storefronts with actual uses that are there on a temporary basis. And so there are things, like you could create a 30-day rolling lease where someone is in there. There's examples of people doing like art studios. Galleries is not really a great driver of activity, but say there's an artist that's making something in that space and they're paying maybe the utilities or something like that. So there's a little bit of something in it for the landlord. They get their operations paid for, but it's a low cost lease for an artist. They get some in a high visibility location they wouldn't otherwise be able to afford. The trade-off being that they have a 30-day notice period to be kicked out at any time should there be a long-term lease interest in that space. And so there's a good amount of evidence that adding these temporary uses that even if they can be removed pretty quickly, have a strong impact on being able to then generate more interest in leasing that space. Generally, sometimes those temporary tenants, if they end up generating enough momentum, can turn into those long-term, like sign a long-term lease at a market rate. But it just adds a lot more activity. It doesn't tie up the landlord to a commitment that, they can't get out of if they've got a financial, a financial gain to be made on a long-term lease. And it can be a win-win for the creative community as well.
Any other questions at this point? All right, no other questions, Max.
Okay. Well, if things come up and you want to shoot me an email, you can send it to Jen or myself. I'll also send out the responses with all the numbers that I put out, as well as the narrative response that I spoke to. Thanks, everyone.
Perfect. Thank
Thanks,
you,
Max. Thank you. Okay. Then back to our agenda.
Yes.
Okay, let's get back to the agenda. I do need a motion from one of the board members to adopt and approve the agenda. Moved by Mel, and a second. And seconded by Carrie. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Treasurer's report, Jen?
Hold on 1 second. I'm typing and not writing, and I'm not
Okay.
very good at that. Okay, there we go. Treasurer's report is not a whole lot different than it was last month. You will see our payment to Mike. Sorry, Mike, if you're listening to this recording, go through for the work he did for the 2025 budget and whatnot. And then, as we talked last time, if we continue down the path of expanding the SSD, there will be an additional charge that will incur this year in order to do the work to expand it. That probably wouldn't hit until, I would say late summer. And I think the estimate he gave me at some point was around $1,000 for the work. Typically what we spend in order for Mike to do all of the work, remember, he does all of the math around what individual businesses and property owners are charged. Usually it's around $5,000 to do the work for the entire year. So that 1,000 then would be that expansion up and down. And we can talk more about the expansion plans in a bit, but that is really the only change. As you know, we don't have a lot of spending in Q1. He is the biggest piece of that. And I think part of what Max had asked was, are we interested in hearing more about how we optimize events and things that we can do to kind of make things better and feed some of those things with the survey. I think that's where we'll see potentially some spending in Q1 and Q2 where we typically don't have any. I think that idea of how we drive that engagement with bringing restaurants in, the storefronts, the short leases, all of those things. And I think what he mentioned there too is we've got some education opportunities. I don't know if you saw the video that Krista and Kevin put out yesterday that was really talking about parking and walking. I think we've got a lot of education opportunities, and that doesn't necessarily cost us that much, which is a good thing. We just have to find, like we've talked in the past, the right avenues, because we know not everybody's on Facebook. So how do we continue to get that message out? But that, from a long-term budget perspective, if we stayed with the same events, kind of with similar budgets, that would give us this Q1, Q2, even though we're coming to the end of Q1, to really focus on some of the things coming out of both the U of M study and what Max is putting together. So I'll leave that as a big discussion point for next month, where we can kind of drill into where we want to put money. One of the things Krista had thrown out last meeting, she was on chat, was maybe we engage a real estate person, I don't know if broker is the right word or not, to help us go out and source restaurants to have conversations with about moving here. I know you have some ideas too, and I think that's how we can come together and figure out how we can make some of this stuff happen.
I know Julie's had conversations with folks as well, brokers in particular. So
I think there's more to come with that, and I think we'll save that as a big discussion for April. Crazy that we're.
Have you guys met the Southern Social people yet that are gonna move into Cuzzies?
No, I don't know if you were aware that all of that was happening, because he was one of the individuals that came to us and wanted to be a part of the SSD. So I was somewhat surprised that there was a change of, I don't know if it's a change of building ownership or just a change of.
our understanding is it's a change of everything, building or property ownership as well as business. That Julie's been more involved in that, so she'd be able to share more. But again, some of it, she's been talking with a broker who I think has been trying to make some of that happen as well. So she'll be able to provide a better update.
But I think it's from what I'm hearing, I think it's a good thing. I think we've got another business that's coming in that's looking to be engaged, and it seems to be drawing a lot of positive responses from what I've seen on social media, and we know that doesn't always happen. So it feels like it's a good move forward.
Someone asked me yesterday, does that affect the liquor store?
That's a good question. I don't know
That's
the
what
answer to that.
I didn't know if they were subleasing or if there's a separate building.
I will reach out to the new individuals and encourage them to attend next month so that we can kind of get them involved and get a better understanding. And then I'll work with Julie when she's back to engage them with that, with the SSD piece.
Has anybody had their food? Anybody? Okay.
Menu online looks decent.
Yeah, I looked at the menu.
Yeah.
Well, that's my question. Is it another Crooked Pint, Willie McCoy's? Like,
No.
is it in that? Is it better? Like, that's where I'm
Better,
saying.
and
Next
it has,
level.
Is it just like a not?
yeah, it has, I'm trying to think, it seemed like it had more like seafood options.
Southern
Southern,
flair.
yeah, southern
Think
flair.
Southern style
Yeah.
that makes it stand apart from
Yeah.
most other
Okay.
restaurants, so.
Really unlike anything we
Yeah.
have,
I know they want to eat.
or anywhere, like I don't think.
Woodbury and Egan,
And
yeah.
Woodbury.
Yeah.
We were talking about like, it would be like kind of a next level Willie's.
Okay.
Not, I don't know, maybe like tab 4 or 5 maybe.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
with
that.
like the southern
Okay, good.
Yeah,
genre.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
But it's nice, sounds like they're gonna reinvest in the building, which is nice.
New
We've seen a
parking
lot
lot.
of that is like reinvesting,
Yeah.
Coming
so
in.
Great.
I'll give them 20 bucks.
reinvesting in the buildings themselves. So that's needed and good. Those are
That's
good
great.
indications of things, so.
Yeah.
Back to the budget, that is the SSD, there is no change with,
It is, maybe this is a good time to
Yeah,
talk about
I
the,
think-
the CDBA budget.
Yep.
And let me maybe back up a little history here. When this organization started, we didn't have the SSD to fund the things that we do. So what we did way back in the day is we charged the business members $50 a year to participate. And that little pot of money, that's what's left of it, and it hasn't really been touched
in 10 years.
in 10 years. So, so we stumbled across an opportunity to spend some of that money. And that opportunity is the Miracle League of Chaska. If you're not familiar with Miracle League, it's an accessible baseball field. And there's also being built alongside that an accessible playground. The Miracle League fields where they've gone in have been draws to a community that are significant. People will actually move to towns that have this because it's that much of a draw. And we thought, you know, as a downtown business group, that may be something we should support, especially if that money's just going to sit there and we don't really have anything to spend it on. So
Did you say that would go?
It's just up six, it'll be kind of up 61 Southwest Chaska. So if you go up 61, you know where Mount Hope Road is?
Yeah.
Okay, if you, there's,
Really downtown Chaska.
no, but it's gonna drive a lot of people downtown.
You can,
Yeah.
the link, I put it next to the Chaska Parks and Rec.
Yes, and I also have QR code.
That is a survey that you can, it takes you to the website, you can learn more about, it's a 50+ acre park that will be built up there that won't just have the Miracle Field, it'll have, and that's what this survey is about, like, what else do you want there? Is it hiking trails? Is it water? Is it, so and to Dan's point, the Miracle Field is a draw, but this idea that we're going to have this huge acreage park with a variety of things for people to engage in, could be soccer fields, could be baseball fields, could be nature trails, like that's where they're looking for our input as to what makes the most sense, but it will be a draw. And again, that's up to us then to engage those individuals down here. So we can think about signage that,
Yeah,
you know,
oh,
what
yeah,
I'm looking for.
yeah, there would be recognition for the Downtown Business Alliance to, if we contributed to that.
And
And
again, this isn't SSD funds. This is that 1685 CDBA fund that has been sitting there untouched for years.
Yeah, the city is doing the park, that's part of their normal park budget and development and whatnot. The Chaska Rotary is the kind of the driving nonprofit behind getting the Miracle League in there as an upgrade to that park. It's $1.5 million project. They've raised or have commitments for all of that except the last 300,000, and they're in a push now to get the last 300,000. So that's what got me thinking, well, maybe we could do something as a Downtown Business Alliance. So
How much does Rotary put into that? Cause I know the Lions.
Oh, they've got
$1,000.
But Rotary's, every fundraiser they've done for the last 3 years is for the Miracle League, so hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they've got in-kind donations from like Kraus Anderson, who'll be the contractor on it, for 200,000. So there's a lot of little pieces of money coming from here, money coming from there, but the Rotary's been working on this for 3 years, so. And that's, I mean, for that Rotary Club, that's a heavy lift, but it's kind of their signature project, so. But again, people who contribute at some level, I don't know what that level is, will all have recognition on site with, you know, signs or whatnot, so, yeah.
Question about that whole park then. Are they making it, I mean, is it gonna be counterintuitive if they put food up there? Because that's what we're trying to draw downtown. Are they like,
Have food up there.
yeah, cause well, I mean,
I don't,
A lot
we're
of-
going through that strategic right now,
Yeah.
but I guess I never
That's-
envisioned food.
I don't think there's gonna be food there. There was like
Or
one of,
like
that was in
firemen.
the,
that's why when Tommy's just moved to
Yeah, no.
Shakopee. Is it gonna be something like that? where
No,
it's
I don't think, not
Yeah,
that I,
exactly.
from this, I took the survey already too, and it had nothing, it was more like, if it was food options, it was concessions, if.
Okay, yeah, like a ice cream thing, or
Yeah.
like we down
Yeah.
environments, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, just wondering if that's.
So I would encourage you, and I'll send the link to Jen and she can send it out. So there's a project website, but there's also a survey available. And so I think it would be valuable for the businesses to take that survey. And that's open until April 4th. So we'll make sure those get out to you and you can
Good idea.
participate in that.
Question for Mel too. I don't know if we want to spend all that money or just a chunk of it, but is there a minimum balance requirements for a business account that we need to keep in mind if we're going to just do part of this?
That one's probably 250, something
Okay,
like
so
that.
it's all right.
Yeah, but look, to Jen's point, it goes dormant every year. so
Yeah, I
we
know.
wanna
And
make
every year we
sure-
have to say, yes, it's still real. Yeah,
And we don't have to make a decision today, but
right.
what I would say is take that back and think about, like, we have this sum of money that is sitting there. Is there something that we could do with it that would help better something?
Yeah.
Much as that's a great idea, could we have a better impact with a smaller organization? You know, like we could throw $1,500 at a smaller organization that needs our help versus $1,500 into a $300,000 budget, you know what I mean? Just a thought, especially if we've got a lot of local business owners and things like that,
We've talked about that little pocket park too. Like, what are we gonna do with that? I mean, that $1,500, that's right downtown, that would impact all of our businesses right here too. You know,
That's a really great idea, but
Yeah.
if that is something that is a part of, yes.
You're doing what Max is doing.
yeah. Even the Paseos.
I agree. I mean, if it's downtown, right away you said, well, that's not even downtown, and I agree. I mean, I'll benefit from it, but as a general, it doesn't seem like it's gonna affect everybody on a daily basis. I probably will get a lot of it, but a lot of people, like if there's something else that would draw people to come down more often and directly, that would make more sense.
Like I said, at this stage, encourage people to think about it. Give feedback to the board members because the board members are ultimately going to have to vote to do it or not do it. So, yeah, let us know your thoughts. And maybe we'll bring this up again in a month.
And I have the link, that'll come out, and I can do a PDF of that too and attach it.
You have it.
Yeah, Marshall sent it to Steve and I, on the Monday email. Speaking of that, just a quick question on that, because, I can't remember who I was talking to, said that they didn't see the video on my last recap email in the bottom right corner. Did anybody have problems accessing the video? Did anybody, I mean, you all were here, so I don't know that.
Still don't get the emails.
I did tell her.
I know.
I
I think you forwarded.
like blacklisted.
Probably.
That's not a surprise.
Not the first time either. I'll look into that
I
one.
didn't have any trouble looking at the video.
Okay, I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I always do a test email and I didn't have an issue. So sometimes it's just like finding the little spot that it's in, I think, can be difficult. It would have been, I'll double check, but usually I do it the Monday after the meeting. So it was the 14th. It may have been a day later because I was in Milwaukee that weekend. So it might have not been Monday, it might have been Tuesday.
One on Wednesday, the 19th.
There, I was really late. It's because I turned
There's one on
50 that
Tuesday.
weekend and it's straight downhill. Yeah. All right, I lost the agenda.
Okay, so we're on the budget and back
Um,
to current business.
All right, so Elise, you have the 4110 update. Good for
I
you.
do, because the county is not here. So the county sent me just a quick update. They'll be here in April, but they're out meeting with the businesses up near 41 and Angler this morning. So that's why they're not able to be here. I will get this information to Jen and she will share it, as there's an additional PowerPoint, which I won't necessarily go through because I know we have a lot to cover today. There was a public meeting on February 19th. Those items are available on the webpage. I believe they were covered during this particular meeting in February, so you have all that information. The staging, closure, detour, access routes are also available on the project website. I think the one that's most impactful to this group is when 41 and 10 will be closed. Right now, that's looking like early summer to late summer. Obviously, they're working around school schedules so that they can have the intersection not closed until after school is done, but to have it completed before school starts again. So we're kind of talking June to August is when that intersection area will be closed. Overall, if you've been through that area, like I was through that area this morning, tree clearing is going on. There's a lot of trees coming down for the project. There's been utility work happening up there for over a year. So all that's related to this project. The overall project looks to start on March 31st. And they'll start by closing Bavaria and Angler, that intersection there to put a roundabout in. So they are starting to narrow down those timeframes. So thank you, Krista, for pulling that up. You can see the area in yellow there, the west side of the project, that area, that intersection will close at the end of the month. And then they'll just start working their way east is essentially what will happen. So again, not a lot of new information since the last meeting, as I understand it. They will be back in April. And I think if you have communications needs, something we've talked to them about is having them make maps for you all, sort of like we did during the 41 project, of how do people get to your business during this time. Besides just showing them the big regional detour, because that can be off-putting, that the regional detour is 212 and to Chaska Boulevard. And there are other ways for local traffic to get through in there. So.
And then just make an overall big one in addition to anybody that wants one. Overall big one, like downtown
Oh,
Chaska.
sure, yeah.
Yeah, I already asked her about that.
Okay.
Yes, that favors
Make some
more of our local way to get around as opposed to saying, take 212. Because like Big Woods is a great detour.
Savannah now open, the idea is that then takes you to Big Woods. And so there are a lot of options available. So that's the information the county sent to me. I will get the actual presentation that they had pulled together, but I wanted to highlight the main points. I'll get that over to Jen to include.
And that, in addition to what Elise sends, that link is clickable in the agenda. So if you want to get to the project website, it'll take you right there where everything is at.
And we'll be back in April, so feel free to bring more detailed questions in.
I mean, this just popped into my head because it's like summer all of a sudden. Except tomorrow, I guess we go back to winter, but that's. Are they talking at all about moving these up because it looks like things are not gonna be winter and frozen until?
Well, I think they weren't, I think the March 31st date is moving things up. The fact that tree clearing is happening, a lot of the utilities have happened already. They're prepping themselves to complete this all in one season. That's their goal. And that's quite ambitious of a task so that they can be in and out and done.
I know a lot of it's driven around the school
Yeah.
timeframe, and we can't pull up too much because school's still in session, but.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Any city updates, Michaela, Elise?
Yeah, so the banners are up on 41, which is very exciting. And they're beautiful. I've already seen comments about them, so that's very, very exciting to see. It's been a light few months as far as things that would relate down here, but at the end of January, we had our strategic planning sessions. That's when the council members, mayor, and department heads get together. You can see some remnants of that on the back wall. That's certainly not all of it. There's a lot that goes into the whole 2-day session. But I always like to kind of report back on what that looked like. We do talk about downtown a lot in that session. We had 2 new council members, so we were really setting what is our vision and kind of strategic goals we're looking at for 2030, or we kind of look 2-3 years out at this point, but we kind of reached our 2025 vision and now we're looking to the future. So what that included as far as downtown is concerned, we set 6 or 8, I can't remember, like overall goals. It was a lot. We expanded on those. And one of them was downtown as a destination and really keeping that at the forefront. So we talked a lot about tourism. Kind of, it's been 20 years since the downtown master plan was done. What does remastering that look like? And just, really continuing that focus on downtown being an integral part of Chaska. So it was good to hear that we had 2 new council members, that they're very invested in downtown as well. And so we spent a lot of time talking about downtown. So we're wrapping up kind of putting that together in a nice shiny packet. And then that'll be on the website. But I always like to kind of report that it's always interesting to me how much of that planning session is really centered around downtown. So like I said, you can kind of see some of the calendar planning dates. Some of them on there really talk about, growing our business newsletter and intro on City Square. So you can just kind of see some of the remnants of like the calendar planning back there. But yeah, so lots of conversations. So that was really good. And then that's really it that I had. So Elise.
Yeah, a few things on our end that are particularly informative for downtown. There's a purchase agreement on the Cooper's property. So they're working through all of that. It appears it will be another grocer of some sort. So more to come on that. That's kind of what I'm available to share. And then we do have 2 bills at the legislature that relate to downtown. The first one is a bonding request again for City Square West. So as you may recall, 2 years ago, we received state bonding money to redevelop that property. We put in an additional request to help continue to fund that gap that we anticipate to redevelop that block. So bills in both the House and Senate have been introduced regarding that. The biggest question is, will there be a bonding bill this year? And that usually is not taken up until like the last 3 days of session. So we anticipate we'll have more to share in May as far as what's going on with that. The other item at the legislature is a bill for a social district in downtown Chaska. And so if you're not familiar with a social district, it's legislation that allows essentially to create parameters about the ability to take adult beverages just out into the public. And it would be within a certain area. We've done community events of that sort, allowing that to happen, but this would give us the legislation to not have to do all these quote unquote community events. So that has been introduced, and actually we kind of have 2 ways to do it. So we've had our local legislators introduce legislation particular to Chaska, but we understand there's an overall just allowing this legislation to happen at a statewide level. It'd be up to individual cities to implement it if they are interested. So we're feeling positive about that. We'll let you know if we get a hearing or what sort of support that may be needed to kind of move that forward. So those are the items on my list.
What was the timing again on the state bonding for the city park request?
It
You
would
said
be before the end of session, which is late May.
late May. Thank you.
They typically do bonding in the 2nd year of the biennium. So last biennium, last year, they didn't do anything. So now that's why it's budget this first year of the session. So it's interesting that they're working on it.
They did a bonding bill in 23, which was a budget year. So it's
Yeah.
just kind of, who knows, but we
Yeah.
thought we'd put it in anyways. So
Yeah.
Good. Any questions, city updates?
You said a purchase agreement. Is there a timeline on that?
I don't know what that.
Like the end of the month or, okay.
We have done some things at the city level that have pertained to some lot splits and that sort of thing associated with that. So that to us tells us they are continuing to move forward with that.
And Steve, my back channels tell me end of the month.
That's
That's what I'm hearing.
That's what.
Your back channels tell you what?
End of the month.
Yeah, because we'd been hearing that there's a purchase agreement and that they were in the middle of financing. Is that the same group? or
It is a
group?
different group than what we were talking about in 24.
Oh, okay.
So that fell through. This is a new group.
Okay.
Don't ever play poker with Elise.
That face. She'll-
Say, I do have a question, kind of getting back to what Michaela was talking about, and maybe for Park and Rec too. This is gonna be our first summer with the trails connected and running through the heart of downtown. Any activation planned for that, or events, or what can we do to really, and as well as, of course, the Paseo will really be there now instead of kind of under construction, so.
Maybe.
That,
Know when the trail's gonna be done? Cause the bridge is still needs to be done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that,
One bridge, I think, is really the big piece.
yeah, the bridge that's just east of downtown here still needs to be done. I don't know what that timeline, this spring.
foundation is in, it looks like
Yeah.
it's a small step to be
Yeah,
done.
it's a very small
Rest
step.
of it is done. but
Yeah.
With some additional landscaping to go in.
Yeah, that would be good.
I think there's opportunity there, and I don't know if there's any specifics that take advantage of that,
Yes,
so.
Marshall has something he wants to do, cause he's a runner, he's a track star. That's what thank you for getting that.
And
Yeah.
and a singer.
So I imagine he wants to do something, but I think that's a good thing to bring back.
I had talked to Doug, I'm gonna forget his last name. He used to run the 5K, the Cuzzies 5K. And I didn't realize why he had stopped it, but he stopped the Cuzzies 5K because the park run has gotten so big down here that nobody was doing the 5K that was right next to the park run. He also does the one out in Waconia, the Don't Worry, Be Happy. But he was like, I'd like to do something downtown with that. And so I think that could be, I know the park run is big, but like maybe we do bikes and a 5K, like something on
5K
the,
kickoff to like
yeah.
introduce that it's there.
Run people through the tunnel. I mean,
Yeah.
He's definitely open
Yeah.
to like doing something. So, and he's really good at running races. So that running the race. There's no way to say that, right? Organizing the races. Ooh, animal walk is good. Yep.
Especially like a gold retriever group coming down.
I don't know if.
Yeah, furcays have been popular.
Per case.
Mhm.
No, Max isn't still on, but one of the things that, I can't remember if I mentioned this already, he is going to help optimize events and whatnot. And he had asked, do you want that in the final report or are you interested in some of it now? And I was like, now, give us it now so that we can make changes. So we can also take some of his feedback about things he's seen work, and there might be some ideas in there as well. And you all over there too. All right, that leads us to Steve.
We got a lot going on. It's our busy time of the year. We hit 399 members, 29 already this year. We're working on our first responders luncheon at the end of April. We've got Doug Loon, the president of the Minnesota Chamber, talking about the legislative session. He's doing that at our luncheon next week. We partnered a lot with the city and Parks and Rec, kind of just around our community markets, which we rebranded instead of it being just a farmer's market. So it'll be like kind of like a mini taste of Chaska every week from the first week of June through the first week of October. So all businesses, organizations, clubs, schools will be invited to come down and partake in that. With Sydney's got a pretty sweet lineup for music. I don't know if she's going to disclose that today or not. And then we've had a couple interns working for us, which has been fun. It's the first time we've had that. We had Y campaign has been going on. We've done about 12 videos of members that are talking about why they're part of the chamber. And then our website has seen a refresh for the first time in like 8 years. And then we're planning on moving just on the south side of 5 from where we are. There's going to be a ton of construction for the next 2 or 3 years in Chanhassen where we are. So we're gonna bunk over with Mel for 5 years and see what happens. So it'll be nice. So as we got going on, planning Taste of Chaska. It's the 40th annual. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Kind of stole your thunder.
I know, it's okay.
But yes, I had the survey for the Southwest Park, which I encourage you guys all to take. And then we just finished our summer guide, so if you guys wanted a copy of that, I have a few. It just covers our events and programming for this summer.
Yeah.
Do you have your band list or no?
Yes, it's on the back here.
Questions?
You can.
Sydney? Okay, Lisa, any updates?
Yeah, we've got a lot of exciting stuff coming up. I'll let you mention the one thing that I'm not gonna mention.
Sure,
Um,
I will do that.
but, coming up here at the end of April, and these are available through the Parks and Rec registration. We've got our what? Murder and Mayhem and Chaska walking tours, which are less than a mile downtown walking tours where we talk about some of the frontier days of Chaska and the perhaps saltier events that happened during that time. We've also got, so that's taking place the end of April, early May. And then in June, we have our Graveside Tales, which is when we have the Minnesota Living History Society come in full period dress, playing the parts of some of our dearly departed citizens. We are going to be featuring, rather than, we did Mount Pleasant last year, but this year we are going to be doing Guardian Angels. And so you can register for that as well, but you go out there and one by one, you'll go through the cemetery and meet some of those dearly departed citizens from the 1860s or so, and they'll tell you about their lives, which is kind of fun. We also have another 3 months worth of Lego brick building classes coming up, and that's in partnership with the Chaska Library, where kids come over to the History Center, they learn the history of some of the buildings, they recreate those buildings using their Lego skills, and then pictures of them are put on a giant map of downtown in the Chaska Library, so that you can see how kids re-envision the history of Chaska over time. And then a couple of other things going on. We've got a video exhibit of the health and wellness exhibit that's in the History Center right now. That's going to be going online, and we are swapping it out for our next exhibit, which is going to be Women in Chaska. Let me think now, Grit and Grace, which is, I think, highly appropriate. Anyway, so we've got a lot of stuff going on, and we just started interviewing the Latino owners or workers in the strip mall here, of the strip mall businesses, because they've been there 20, 30 years. And we've found through Latino Voices, we've got somebody who can kind of give us the connection in there so that they understand that we have good intentions and that they realize how important we believe they are for the community as a whole. And so we're hoping to bring that in.
And what Lisa was too modest to mention, the Chaska Historical Society was awarded the George C. Klein Service Above Self Award by Chaska Rotary just yesterday. And that's a very prestigious honor, and
Thank you.
yeah, as a longtime director of that organization, Lisa's been a big part of that. And, we have a real gem there that most communities don't have. Something that
Kind of
nice.
scary is that the organization has been around for 45 years.
Yeah.
I've been volunteering there for 25. I've been there more than half of the time. It's been, God, that makes me feel old.
I can relate.
You can relate.
I can relate.
Yeah, congratulations to Lisa and that terrific organization. We're glad you're part of our town. So. Yeah.
Good question. How are the book sales going for the
The book sales,
Yeah.
they're not as robust as we would like them to be, of course,
Yeah.
but, it's not bad either. We've got them in several locations, like we've got them at your store, at the bakery, we've got them at the livery stable, the Simmons Livery Stable. And a lot of it is people just don't even know they're out there. And we have put it out there many times, but I'm almost ready to take our little red wagon and a stack of books and go walking through a neighborhood every night and just go door to door saying, do you realize this exists?
So
Sort of thing.
we have that, the little book, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, the little book cart that comes around in Chaska once in a while. They park out in front of our shop. The chair, yeah, the little trade book. I wonder if I can talk with her and see if she wants to like put it on her shelf on the thing when she's out in the Chaska or Chan or whatever area and see if we can do that. So I'll talk to her this afternoon.
She's from Chaska, isn't she?
Yeah, she comes in all the
It's
time.
really cool what she does. That's amazing.
And she always is like, what days can I come out there? I go, just show up. Like, I don't care where you go, just park and we'll make it. So, but if we can get in tied with that, I think that might have more eyes on it too.
That would be fabulous.
I'll reach out to her.
Could do display at the bank too.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
right now we're doing a food shelf, but for April, we could do the whole month like a spotlight.
Okay,
wanna
if you
do a
want to come
display.
to the History Center right after. I
Okay,
can
well,
get-
let's
I
move
will.
on then.
I gotta get.
We don't have anyone here from the library?
You need to-
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and the Miracle League, I think we've already talked about that, so. Any new business?
This is the best way to reach me.
Okay,
I think it was December, had discussed the Business Neighborhood Watch. And I had it slated for a February meeting and we pushed it because we had Max at that meeting. So I'm gonna circle back on that and get that going, because I know that was a big discussion about just supporting all of downtown, but particularly Second and those areas that get a little bit of the overflow from the hotel. So I did not forget about that, just got pushed out a little bit. That was all I
I
had.
guess I,
Have you met Dominic yet from Uncle Doggy Dips?
I have, he stopped in and introduced himself to my
Yeah.
business and stuff, yeah.
it'd be worth
Yeah.
stopping by
Cool
to.
guy, we gotta get him to come here.
Yes, I added him to our,
Yeah. Yeah,
email thing,
all
but
right.
I think going in and meeting him, with a,
He did indicate in the Facebook post he was interested in getting involved, so that's.
that's all you
Yeah,
need to
yeah.
hear.
And let me, on that topic, just put out my pitch again that we'd love for some new blood on the board. I think our board has kind of been static and dwindling over time, and some fresh faces would be a big help. So if you have any interest at all, touch base with Jen. So,
I saw Chaska Commons has their signs up now.
Yeah.
So, I can't remember their address on 41, but kind of next, they're right next to you, aren't they, at Inkart? So, Chaska Commons co-working space.
Yeah.
So he remodeled that whole building, did a beautiful job, and now a co-working space will be good, or will be going in, which will be good.
cool.
Yeah, I've let Devin know about the meeting, so
Yeah.
he doesn't live in town, so it's hard to get out this way, but.
Great, well, the dates for upcoming meetings are on the agenda, so thank you, everyone, for coming.
It's awesome to see a big group in here.
Right?
I can voluntold a few people. I can look at them in the eye